My name is Miriam Payne. I'm currently enrolled at the University of West Georgia. Cooperative learning and its effects on off-task behavior and student achievement. That is the topic for my action research. I chose this topic for my research because I currently teach in a Title I school where the majority of my students are English language learners. I frequently instruct my students in the cooperative learning technique because I feel that they learn more from each other than just listening to me lecture. I want you to keep in mind that when I mention the word team learning, or group work, that all that is synonymous with cooperative learning. So the purpose of this quantitative study is to analyze the influence of team learning on student achievement, to identify learning techniques that are effective in reducing off-task behavior. As we all know as teachers, that off-task behavior interferes with students meeting their learning objectives. A pre- and post-test was administered to determine the significance of my study. After the pre-test, group work was implemented with the treatment experimental group, while the control group was instructed in the conventional method. My goal is to analyze the influence of group work on student achievement and to identify the effectiveness of cooperative learning techniques. So the big research question is, does cooperative learning in the classroom diminish off-task behavior, thereby improving student achievement? This is the question I sought to answer. We all know that many teachers today struggle with keeping their students engaged in learning. We also are aware that students who are struggling to understand a concept, in most cases, exhibit off-task behavior. One solution that the teacher researchers choose to reduce off-task behavior is implementing cooperative learning. Micheletti, 2002, suggests that cooperative learning groups foster critical thinking skills, improve interpersonal skills, increase active participation in learning, and enhance student achievement. What is cooperative learning? One researcher defined cooperative learning as working together to attain goals that cannot be obtained by working alone or competitively. Group work encourages students to work together in order to reach a common goal. Each individual on the team accepts responsibility for getting the job done. In this situation, students are less likely to exhibit off-task behavior because they view their own learning as not only important, but they feel an overall responsibility to themselves and to their classmates. When students work together in groups, it improves interpersonal skills and increases active participation in learning. It also enhances student achievement. Students work in groups to help one another learn academic content. They learn the importance of involving each other in the process, and this increases interactions and promotes collaboration in the solution of assigned tasks. All the researchers agree that team learning decreases the incidences of off-task behavior and fosters a sense of togetherness. Johnson & Johnson claimed that cooperative learning experiences promote more positive attitudes toward learning and instruction than any other teaching methodologies. So the purpose of my study It was conducted in a third grade classroom. We all know that third grade is considered a critical year, and students must pass that big end of the year state assessment. Students therefore must have a good understanding of the knowledge and skills being tested. It is no question that off-task behavior interferes with students meeting their learning objectives. Therefore, students need to be exposed to different methods of promoting positive attitudes about learning. And most importantly, students need to take an active role in the learning process. The population sample for this study lives in a suburban area of Georgia, with the majority of the population of low socioeconomic status. The public elementary school in which the study was conducted as of the date of the study had an enrollment of 739 students, of which 361 of the students were female and 378 were males. The ethnic demography of the school consists of 600 Hispanics, 105 African Americans, 23 Caucasians, and 11 others, which includes Asian, Indian, and multiracial students. The sampling for this study consisted of 2 third grade classrooms at this suburban school in Georgia. The control group and the experimental group consisted of 20 students. The gender and ethnicity of both groups were similar, and the classrooms environments were also similar because the teachers collaborated on lesson plans and instruction. Intervention strategies. Each respective teacher administered the pre and the post-test. After the pre-test was administered, group work was implemented with the treatment and or experimental group, while the control group was instructed in the conventional straight narration method. A similar instruction pertaining to the standard that was tested was provided for both groups. After several weeks of implementation, both classes were administered a post-test. According to the literature review, a cooperative learning environment supports permanent learning, provides opportunities to be successful, contributes to the development of social and personal skills, and requires students to be successful at all stages. Cooperative learning is a successful strategy that teams students in small groups with different levels of ability, using a variety of learning activities to improve their understanding of the subject. And that's what the U.S. Department of Education stated in 1992. Cooperative learning is defined, again, as students working together to attain a common goal that cannot be obtained by working alone or working competitively. In most classrooms, it is recommended that cooperative learning be used 60 to 80% of the time. Cooperative learning emerges when students work together in order to reach a common goal. That's Johnson & Johnson. Cooperative learning teaches social skills, idea exchange, and leadership skills, all of which are lifelong teaching lessons. It has been found out that cooperative learning has important effects on improving academic success of students. Johnson & Johnson in 1999 claimed that cooperative learning experiences promote more positive attitudes toward learning and instruction than any other teaching methodologies. Emphasis is placed on learning how to cooperate in order to find the best possible solution to the problem. According to the constructivist approach, when students formulate their own solutions in this manner, they are truly thinking critically. And that's what our aim is, to foster that critical thinking in our students to make them lifelong learners. So my methodology consisted of a quantitative study, and I used non-probable sampling. That means my groups were not chosen at random. I purposely chose these two classes based on the fact that they had similarities in instruction and the demographics were similar. I used the pre and post test design with each respective teacher administering the pre and the post test. Similar instructions was provided pertaining to the standards contained in that pre and post test. The cooperative learning group was implemented with the cooperative learning group was taught in the cooperative learning in a cooperative learning environment, while the treatment group was taught in the straight narration method. The analysis of my data shows that there was both groups, the cooperative learning and the traditional learning, both groups showed improvement in the post-test. Of course, this is what we expect to see. We expect to see both groups show improvement on the post-test. However, the cooperative learning group on the post-test, their results was 23.25% higher than on the pre-test, while the traditional group showed results of 17.55% higher from the pre-test to the post-test. This shows that the cooperative learning group had a 5.7% overall improvement between the pre-test and the post-test, which is a big variance between the two groups. So the summary of my findings shows that the summary of my findings from my research regarding the effects of cooperative learning on off-task behavior indicates that improvement in student achievement on the post-test was substantially higher. It was proven beneficial that working together among peer groups encourages students to find a way to meet their social needs while also reaching academic goals. It was proven that students are less likely to exhibit off-task behavior because they view their own learning as not only important, but they feel an overall responsibility to themselves and to their classmates. So what does this all say about cooperative learning versus traditional learning and the effects of cooperative learning on off-task behavior? Does it truly affect the way kids learn? And does it truly affect the way they behave in class? Well, my study proved that cooperative learning is a successful teaching strategy. It also shows that cooperative learning has a positive effect on off-task behavior. Cooperative learning has also proven to be beneficial to students' academic progress. Cooperative learning also assists the teacher in the reduction of off-task behavior. With all this knowledge, and my task now is to take all that I have learned in reference to cooperative learning and make it a major part of my classroom instruction. Previously, I have used it occasionally in some subjects, but now my intention is to make it a major part of my classroom instruction because I have proven that it does improve off-task behavior and it makes students responsible for their own learning, thereby making them better learners. If you have any questions regarding my research, you can ask me them on the discussion board where it will be posted, and I hope you have learned something about cooperative learning and its effects on student achievement. Thank you.